Where, how, what was the impetus for coming up with it, other than understanding that your students were struggling with character? What brought you to this method, I guess?
Well, initially the fact that I was reading these character profiles and they had all this amazing intention, right? My character is going to be like this, and it's going to be this and that, and it will work this way, and this is the backstory. But more and more I noticed that the students were somehow losing themselves in the image of the character that then they were not able to translate in actions and decisions and ways on the page, in the scene. Somehow there was a gap there between the intention of how the character, they want to be the character like that, but then when it was coming down to, okay, so how does that character talk and walk and move if I have to materialize on the page? There was a gap there. And it was, we were taking a long time to rationalize together. Okay, so you want the character to be rational. What do you mean by rational? How does a person that is rational talk? How do they move? What is the attitude? There was a long labor in there. And so I thought, well, actually, everybody used the character brief, which is great. I mean, we need that, of course. But is there a way to consider how they could actually channel their character really as a person, as a brain, and then be able to test it before they commit fully to this big brief, the character brief. And then they're caged in there because often it's just like a beautiful description, then also happen not to work because the story continued to work, to evolve, to be polished. And sometime, well, the character brief is just a container, and then you read the page and it doesn't compare. So it was just to make their life easier, really.
Sure. Okay, good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. I'd be curious about an example of it. In action.
Of course,
sure. Okay.
I give you a very, very simple example I always give to my level 4 when we start talking about these things.
Level 4 is
yes, it's the beginning when they enter, just fresher basically.
Okay.
So we're talking about these things, and of course for them is in the beginning difficult to understand the planes on which I work, the levels, what does it mean before the character profile? So I said to them, okay, so we're talking about short films. Everything has to be very polished, very clear, very immediate for the audience because you don't have much time.
How long is the short film you're working on?
Generally, we work from about 4 to 12 minutes.
Okay.
And then when they third year, when they go for graduation, we have films that can be at maximum 20 minutes. So it's really, it's always, but they start practicing in a very short, time limit. Mm-hmm. And so I just said to them, okay, so imagine that I would like to create a character, and I don't know exactly what, but I just met a guy that is very interesting and is a priest. So, and I thought, okay, I analyze this person, and definitely the core of this person is, if I had to translate it for a short, is a caring person. When he meets a person, he's very caring. He asks them how you are. He's deeply caring for his community and stuff like that. And then I want to inject an element of story somewhere to make it something, what do I want a drama? Do I want a thriller? I don't know yet. But imagine that this character, as a paradox, I decide I will make it violent. And I especially say violent because I discover that this kind of quality in human beings is innate. Basically, you can be born violent. And we are talking about always qualities that are of the brain that one can be born with. So fine. And imagine that his attitude also, just to put something there that complicates things even more, is that he's quite laid back, he's a kind, cool, calm person. But there are these things. He's caring, and you can see it in his job, but he has a violent paradox. And the violent and paradox comes in sometime. And the question would be, so first, how does this violent character come in? Is it because he is psychologically violent, maybe with some people in the community? Does he arm himself? Does he go out hunting in the night? Is he what? So I put that on the table, and we start thinking about it, generally speaking. And then the interesting moment is when the students start to think, okay, so how does it work? So when the person encounters a problem, when the person is relating to people, he will go by the core as a first instance. The reaction will go by the core. A caring person, a calm person as an attitude, but caring. And then somehow in the story, sometime the paradox kicks in. In this case, of course, it could kick in immediately when, for example, he has a car parked in front of the church. Somebody that is, completely drunk crashed the car. He goes out, and the immediate reaction is, oh, okay, I mean, I understand, you will pay me back and this and that. Okay. But then maybe the person is not some very, kind, and the paradox kicks in, and maybe he gets violent, or he pretend everything is okay, close the door of his house, go in the house and start kicking around things because the violence come in, or anything, because this is in the hands of the writer. So in that way, when they see this kind of thing, then they start thinking, okay, so where I want to locate this person, how old I want to make this person, which culture would help me to enhance this thing, how can I use this brain and embody it in somebody, because the same brain, caring and violent, if you put it in the body of a woman who is a mother with 2 children, well, you can have a different story entirely. So it works. This is how I work it for the time being.